Welcome, friends. We're here to talk of all things Quantum Leap. And no, this isn't any late breaking news. There's been no 11th hour reprieve. Nobody's greenlit or made a third season even viable right now. This is simply something that came out a while ago and it kind of resurfaced on this Cinema Blend article here. Apologies, I don't know why dark mode's not working. And I thought it might be fun to at least take a little peek inside what they had planned for season 3, if season 3 had ever gotten off the ground. And it appears that they weren't even that far into the planning stages when they were canceled. But since I've covered the show this far, why not go a little further and take a peek into what we could have expected. So if I come down here to the part that's not just kind of a recap, because most of you probably remember where season 2 ended, but if you don't, Ben and Addison both kind of co-leapt together into some point in the past, probably around the 40s, and there was a nice reunion moment before it went to black. That's where he left things. In the modern day type of stuff, Ernie Hudson had stepped down and all of that stuff. So there was kind of a cliffhangery thing going on, but it was also sort of a bittersweet moment because these characters who had been trying to reunite with each other for 2 seasons finally did. So it looks like here, if we look at this quote from Dean Jorgaris, or however you pronounce his name, what I would tease about a 3rd season is exploring a 2-person leap, but I don't think it's always going to go the way they expect. I don't necessarily think just because they're together in one leap means they're automatically together in the next leap. I think we're all excited about who becomes the hologram and how does the hologram work, and what other discussions does having a swap code, if it works, or if they can get it to work again, bring up for the people in Quantum Leap. And it seems that that's kind of referencing the code that Hannah wrote that was supposed to get Ben home and kind of resolve everything. It didn't seem to do that, but what they're kind of implying here, and we'll go down a moment and look a little further into this, is that they are going to be able to swap people out. At least that's what it seems to be implying. So that, yes, we've got 2 leapers right now, and there always needs to be a leaper. At least that seems to be the case right now. There is no way to get everyone to return home and shut down the program. There has to be continually somebody in the time stream leaping from life to life, and probably multiple people at this point with the various myriad of alternate potential timelines we've had, because, you know, we had Addison was the original leaper, that was overwritten. Ben kind of leapt, and there's been changes to the timeline. Obviously, Sam's still out there, and there might be all of these people concurrently leaping, especially from starting points in the future, alternate futures, all of that stuff, not really explored within the show, but it seems like there might be this cluttered mess of people leaping about, and that might be part of why we can't always get everybody back home, because we've tied the time stream up into knots. There's no real simple answer to get everyone back to their starting points, because their starting points might not even exist at this point. So let's come down a little bit, because there is another quote that kind of actually addresses what I was just talking about, just a little bit. If we really start to explore that you can go in and out of leaps, does Ian want to go? Does Jen want to go? Is there an occasion where Magic would want to go? Or can they not get the code to work again? In which case, you've now got 2 people you're trying to bring back, or are you trying to bring them back? That's kind of leading to some fascinating questions and fascinating possibilities. Now, that kind of breaks wide open the entire premise of the show. That kind of destroys the whole needing to rescue somebody and they're just kind of flailing around in time trying to get back home, which was kind of already starting to be reset in the 2nd season of this revival anyway, but that really does add a whole twist to the storyline, and it definitely seems like they've completely moved away from the bringing Sam back home type of storyline, but that really does open up a world of possibilities for a lot of the modern day side characters who, in my opinion, were vastly wasted and underused, and that was part of the downfall of the show. They were trying to juggle too many storylines and too many main starring characters. They didn't have all that much going for them a lot of the times, so it felt like they were just there because they were cast in the show and they were stars of the show, so they had to throw in all of this mystery in the modern day instead of just kind of simply focusing on the leap or some other element. So to have Addison and Ben co-leaping, that would be nice. That would be kind of a fun twist on things. And like it said earlier on, it doesn't necessarily mean they will be consistently together in the leap. So maybe they'll solve a problem and Addison goes to the 40s and Ben leaps off to the 70s and they're doing kind of their own thing. Maybe they'll come back together later when they need a leap that effectively needs two people to solve it. Because there was kind of this sort of hinting towards the end there that sometimes the leap knows, or the guiding force, or God, or the quantum leap accelerator, or whatever power that's controlling this whole thing behind the scenes, it knows when a leap might require more than one person to accomplish this. And if that's the case, it kind of seems like maybe that was the driving force behind everything to begin with, and that's why they brought these two together. So to have them kind of going throughout time as this time team could be interesting. Now, if they really do introduce the concept they said earlier about simply being able to kind of create your own away team or landing party for any sort of situation you want. You bring Ben home for a few days, you send him back after Ian finishes Ian's shift, or Magic steps in because maybe he wants to go back to Vietnam and, I don't know, set something right that happened when he was back there. There's a lot of potential possibilities here. Not all of them feel in line with what Quantum Leap originally was, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. To freshen up this show and kind of take it in its own direction would have been really nice from the start. They definitely kind of fumbled through that first season, even though I really liked the first season, at least conceptually, a lot of the episodes had some good stuff going for them. They definitely seemed to not really have their own direction until season 2, when they threw out the entire playbook and started over from scratch as far as with this time traveler's wife storyline. So while it wouldn't hold up to scrutiny for a lot of classic Quantum Leap fans to really feel like this was a good direction, it would actually allow the show to kind of have its own spin and have its own take on things, and maybe it would have allowed the show to actually last a lot longer and make a bigger impact on the whole zeitgeist, instead of being like Quantum Leap Light in the first season and then being more of a time romance story in the second season, neither of which I think was a bad choice. I definitely feel like had they started things from this point, it would have at least cemented this show as being something different aside from a poor copy of the original Quantum Leap, which definitely feels like the opinion a lot of people had about the show. I would have been excited to see this. I've been enjoying the show since the beginning for all of its faults. It never lived up to the hype of the original, but I don't think it was ever intended to. And had they started actually doing this unique take here, allowing a lot of the side characters to get in on the action more directly, that probably would have left room for the show to feel a little more healthy and impact its longevity. Granted, the biggest problem, I think, is being on network TV and taking those interminable breaks. You go 5 weeks without a new episode, you get a new one, you take 3 weeks off, and they don't even promote the thing. Had it been a Peacock streaming original, probably would have done a little bit better, even though not a lot of people are on board with Peacock yet. But do you like this potential change for the third season we're never going to get, or do you think that the show went out the way it should have gone out and there's no reason to continue it? Did you never watch it to begin with? Whatever you think, leave all that down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all the fancy YouTube things. But until next time, I hope your next leap is the leap home.